So this is bad. Roughly 1 week ago today, I talked about how Fallout 76 was facing its worst hack yet, its biggest in-game problem since release. Hackers had found the way to actually spawn in human NPCs, props, so things like Preston Garvey, but even the Pridwin from Fallout 4. But the much worse aspect of this was the ability to create legendary items, whether it be a 3, 4, 5 star, a weapon, or armor. This is bad because much of the in-game economy is based around farming these, trying to get god roll legendaries with the perfect set of legendary effects, and if you can't just manually create these, that's a pretty big problem. Fortunately, Bethesda was fairly quick to actually patch this, make it so you could no longer spawn this stuff in. They removed some of the 4 and 5 stars, and even though there is still work to be done around that, removing some of the 3 stars, removing the NPCs and props, that was good. It was mostly catastrophe averted because they were fairly timely in their response. And as I made that video, I claim that was the worst hack for Fallout 76 thus far. And yet just 1 week later, it is definitely trumped. A new hack was just recently somewhat released, which we'll talk about more in this video, that allows you to steal everything from someone else. It's actually very simple. There have been a few videos and discussions in the community around this, but before we dive into the background or what exactly is possible with this, I would like to just show it to you. So here I am in Fallout 76. Here's my inventory. I have some miscellaneous stuff. I got rid of most of my valuables to demonstrate this. Here's another player who does have the hack loaded, and then they steal my inventory. You'll see how all of my items are now gone. The only remaining ones are things that you can't drop, like quest items, certain keys that are not droppable, but even other stuff is stolen, like atomic shop items that typically you can't trade. As a better example or more illustrative, here I'm actually holding a weapon with an atomic shop skin. That also can be literally ripped out of my player's hands, and then the other person can take that out and use it for themselves after gathering it out of their stash. And although we're standing right next to each other here, that isn't necessary. You can see if I move all the way back fairly far away, they can still steal all of the stuff out of my inventory. So if you weren't convinced before, yes, this is very real, and yes, this has the potential to be very, very dangerous. As far as the potential of this one, basically the way it works is, if a player is in your render distance, so roughly 200 meters or so, your ability to actually see their character, you could load in this script and steal all of their items. The way this works is, it's kind of like taking all from a container. You've been able to do this in other Fallout games. You are clearing out their entire inventory, effectively using a take-all command. It doesn't have anything to do with trading, so if you're suddenly paranoid about somebody running up to you and requesting a trade, that is not how this works. They, in fact, don't even have to do that. There's nothing you do on your end. It's all done on the other user's end. They just have to be able to see you, so I guess hypothetically you could run away. Even further, this is not restricted to the adventure mode of Fallout 76. You can also take all of the items of somebody in the Battle Royale Nuclear Winter mode. I don't have any footage of this, but more or less, if you're playing Battle Royale and suddenly all of the items in your inventory disappear, somebody did this to you, and that is very possible. The same rules and criteria apply. They just have to be able to see you or have you in their render distance. But even further, since this is not actually using a trade, it's not like another player is trading with you and setting all the values to 0 or anything like that, this is not something Bethesda typically or easily can track. They track trades, but this isn't really that. It's, again, like somebody's opening your inventory like a container and just taking everything out of it. So naturally, you could probably see how this could be a massive, massive problem. Mainly because, let's say you worked hard getting your legendary item, spent many hours grinding legendaries. Hypothetically, with this, somebody could just come up to you and take everything in your inventory. And due to the nature of this one, since it isn't using the trade mechanism, it's not really clear how closely Bethesda tracks these kind of interactions. It would be like somebody just walking up to a normal container in game, which doesn't have as much scrutiny around it compared to actual player-to-player trades as is kind of expected. So it doesn't really seem like Bethesda would have a super easy way to just restore all of these items to you if they were to be stolen. In the past, we've seen in some extreme cases, Bethesda will do something like do a full-on player rollback. The only notable case of that I could actually recall is when somebody lost their entire inventory while entering into the Vault 94 raid, and even that was a real back and forth. Initially, Bethesda said, yep, there's nothing we could actually do, but then several weeks later came back and was like, all right, we'll roll back your character overall, and then he got some of his items. But of course, the problem with a rollback is if this happens to you, then you continue playing, you would lose all that new stuff also. And even further, if this became a widespread problem, there are some serious questions about how widespread Bethesda can employ player rollbacks, or again, how willing they would be to do it on a larger scale. So as it stands right now, this is kind of an interesting middle stage. The original source for this seems to be a rect ban. this is the user and poster that has been posting some of the most recent cheats for this game. That's how all of the spawning in and creating legendaries was done. It was due to a tool released by him, or really a script released by him. As it stands right now, he's basically alluded to how it could be done, giving snippets of code and idea as to how someone can do this. So some users have taken that and produced the hack in game and have begun using it. Although, as it stands right now, it hasn't yet been packaged as a nice DLL that you can just download and use in game with relative ease. Right now, the only people that seem to be doing this are people that have somewhat of a technical background. Although, a rec band does describe how he may actually release this on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. So what does all of that mean? At least as of right now, this is possible. Some people are doing it, but it still is relatively rare. Many people are aware of it, but don't actually have the ability to do it themselves. Although, at some point in the next few days, users may have the ability to do this large in part on their own. More of that plug and play style that we've seen with some of the previous hacks, allowing them to spread so widely. So right now, you're probably mostly okay. If you're on consoles, you're pretty much 100% okay, but if you're on PC, you could large in part play the game safely. There are a handful of people that know how to do this, have figured it out, but it isn't super widespread. Although, be warned that at any day now, it could become much more widespread. It could become a much larger problem. And if that's the case, or if you're just paranoid and want to avoid this, what kind of recourse do you have? Well, first and foremost, you take my approach, just don't carry anything of value, or don't carry anything super valuable that you can't live without. They can only take stuff, at least as of right now, from your inventory. So if it's in your stash, it is safe. Separately, you could just not play on public servers. Of course, this is a Fallout First exclusive benefit, so only if you have Fallout First can you play on some private servers, and then the only way your items would get stolen is if you invite somebody who steals items to your private server, so just don't do that, or I guess just hide. Don't let the other people see you and then they won't know to steal your item. That's not really a fix, I just thought it was kind of funny. But either way, yeah, this could be pretty massive. For a lot of the other Fallout 76 hacks, it was mostly external. You'd find other people duping on a server, force crashing servers to dupe on them. You'd find people spawning in items and giving them away, trying to get users banned, or just creating props, legendaries, or NPCs. This is the first major one that has a real potential to actually hurt individual players. If somebody stole my entire inventory, that would suck a lot. And if somebody doesn't know better and actually loses all of their most valuable items, that will probably make them just want to quit the game. If that actually happened to me, I certainly wouldn't want to be playing anymore, especially right at the start of a holiday break. So where do we go from here? What's next in this situation? Well, fortunately, Bethesda is aware of this. I think multiple people have probably told them at this point, but even just the person who is demonstrating it for me in this video has given them a full write-up explaining exactly how this is done and somewhat how it could be prevented. Reportedly, the fix for this is actually fairly simple. It wouldn't be a super difficult thing to implement into the game. So now hopefully Bethesda does implement this in a timely manner, like in the next day or two, because I imagine as more people figure out how to do it the more manual way, not the plug and play way, more people will start doing it and you'll hear more problems. There also is the concern that it seems like Bethesda has partially entered into the holiday break, so some people are still in office until some way into next week, other people seemingly are already out of office, and based off their actions last time being pretty quick on a fix, I'd say the potential for this one getting patched out relatively soon is high. Although, of course, with all of that being said, there is the totally separate discussion around the fact that this is possible. It is definitely bad, even bad from just a game design perspective, that players can actually load scripts into Fallout 76 like this, as that's really what's making it possible. Not only stealing an entire inventory from someone else, but even something like dealing a deadly amount of damage. Those are things that are possible right now due to a lack of checks on the side of Fallout 76 and thus on the side of Bethesda. And it definitely is reflective of some more fundamental issues with this game and how it was built. It's stuff like this that I feel like really demonstrates and shows that, yeah, this was originally a single player engine and multiplayer was kind of attached to it, bolted on in a way. So you do have some of these issues that are popping up from time to time, and in particular, as of late, have been pretty bad. Hopefully Bethesda is quick to respond to this one, but there definitely is the argument, and I kind of agree with it, that this should have never been possible in the first place. Now, if they don't respond to this and it actually becomes a widespread problem, that is a really bad fit. Like, it's basically going to be a partial death of the game for a little while. Mainly because you can't safely play on an online PC server without fear that your entire inventory will be stolen in an instant. There is no recourse. There is no method to avoid this outside of just don't play on a public server. So with this one, time will tell. I'll keep you guys up to date, and I'll definitely make a video if it becomes more widespread, if there are more instances of people doing this. As of right now, again, I think you are mostly okay. But if the more plug and play method does go live, I will probably post a video just talking about that, because it would be a fairly major happening. Although again, based off what the original creator did mention, it seems like that may not be until Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. Either way, with that being said, as always, again, I thank you for watching. Hopefully you found this video informative. Unfortunately, it's probably not information you're happy to hear, but as always, again, I thank you for watching, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.